All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to now get into the playoff picture in both conferences. And as I was going through my Instagram feed, I saw that. So we've talked about the Jets a lot, and I think I did bring up how Woody Johnson vetoed a Jerry Jeudy trade. Now, I don't know, again, I don't know if this is true or not, but, some accounts on Instagram are posting this. Uh, yeah, Bleacher Report posted it. I think CBS as well. They said that the reason that the trade for Jerry Jeudy got vetoed was because Woody Johnson didn't like that Jerry Jeudy's Madden rating was too low. I really hope that that's not the case. But the fact that these accounts are posting it means there might be some validity to that. I really hope not, because that's ridiculous if that's the case. But, anyways, so let's get into the playoff picture. I just wanted to bring that up, though, because I think that's a little ridiculous. So let's kind of go through both conferences. We'll go through the NFC first. So currently, you have in the NFC, the Lions are currently the 1 seed. The Eagles are the 2, but they're both tied at 12 and 2. The Buccaneers are 8 and 6. They have the tiebreaker over the Rams, who are 8 and 6. So those are your division leaders at the moment. Then in the wild card, you have the Vikings, who are 12 and 2, the Packers 10 and 4, and the Commanders are 9 and 5. Now, do I think there's going to be any kind of changes from here on out? I think really the only significant changes, I think, at this moment is what's going to happen with the 1 and 2 seeds and the 5. Because right now, you have 3 12 and 2 teams. And the Lions right now are dealing with a ton of injuries. Their final 3 games are against the Bears, the 49ers, and the Vikings. Those are tough games. All right, I don't care what the records are. Those are tough games for the Lions because right now they're compromised with all the injuries that they have on defense, and now David Montgomery's out for pretty much the rest of the season. It's not looking good for the Lions. And with the Eagles, I mean, they just keep winning. They haven't lost a game since the Buccaneers back in Week 4, back on September 29th. They haven't lost in a long time. And they just play their NFC East opponents the final 3 weeks. So I think they pretty much win all those. Maybe the Commanders game they lose. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting. And it might come down to that final week of the season. Lions-Vikings. That might be your Sunday Night Football matchup. That might be the last game of the regular season right there. Coming down to those 2 teams for the division. So there could be changes there. I mean, also you could say the 3 and the 4. The Buccaneers are 8 and 6. The Rams are 8 and 6. I mean, right now, the way the Buccaneers schedule finishes out, I think they should be able to win all 3 of those games that they have left. The Cowboys could be a tough game with it being in Dallas, and then you got the Panthers and the Saints at home. I think they should win those final 2 games, especially the Saints game because there's no Derek Carr. I mean, Derek Carr and the Saints last year beat them in Tampa. I don't think the Saints are going to do that this time around, but who knows. And then you look at the Rams. They play the Jets this week, which I think they should win. And then you got the Cardinals and the Seahawks, which, those are divisional games. Those could be tough. But, I think the Rams should win those. And then, in terms of the wild card teams, I mean, the Vikings are in the playoffs. The Packers haven't clinched a playoff spot yet, but they will soon. I mean, they're playing the Saints this week at home. They should win that, and then they're basically in. I don't think any of the other teams that are on the outside looking in are going to make it over the Commanders. The Commanders are in a very good spot right now. I mean, these final 3 weeks, they're tough games. I mean, now we got them playing the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. Michael Penix against Jane Daniels, so that's going to be interesting. That's Week 17. But, yeah, I don't see, like, all the NFC West teams and the Falcons as well, those teams, the only path they have to making the playoffs is winning their division. So, the Falcons, they got to, pass the Buccaneers. And then, the Seahawks, they got to break the tie with the Rams. But I think the Rams are going to win the division. I think the Rams are in a good spot. The Buccaneers are in a good spot. So I don't think there's really going to be any changes other than, like, maybe the order of the seeding. So that's going to be something to pay attention to down the stretch. So then we go to the AFC. And right now, the Chiefs, they're 13-1. They got the 1 seed. The Bills got the 2. The Steelers have the 3. Texans have the 4. And then you have the Ravens at 9-5 as the 5 seed. The Broncos as the 6 seed at 9-5. And then the Chargers at 8-6. So, again, it's kind of similar to the NFC, where I really don't see any changes, like in terms of teams on the outside looking in, making it. But I do see the potential of there being a shuffle in the seeding. And I'm looking at the AFC North. Because the Steelers right now, they have a 1-game lead over the Ravens. And they play each other this Saturday. This is a huge game that is coming up. And the Ravens, they obviously lost the previous matchup. Chris Boswell kicked 6 field goals. That was in Pittsburgh. Now this game is in Baltimore. It's going to be a tough game. Now it seems like TJ Watt is going to play because there were some questions on whether he was going to play or not, but I think he is going to play. And then on top of that, I think the Steelers should be getting George Pickens back this week. I would hope, because they definitely do need him back, especially for this game. This game is very important. So the Steelers need to have all hands on deck for this. And for the Ravens, look, they got back on track. They beat the Giants. Lamar had a good performance, 5 touchdown passes, but he's going to have to do more against the Steelers. And he's actually 1-4 against the Steelers in his career. And his only win came against Mason Rudolph. So he's going to have to step it up here, and I think he will. I think he's going to have a good game. But the Steelers, they can't afford to lose 2 straight. You don't want to be a wild card team. So looking at it, George Pickens did not practice yesterday. So it's looking like he might not play in this game, which, the Steelers, they did hang around in that game against the Eagles, but you could tell that was a game they did need him because, the Eagles, compared to the previous week when you're playing against the Browns and Jameis Winston's turning the ball over. Now, the Eagles did have a turnover in the game, but that's because TJ Watt is insane, forcing that fumble off of Jalen Hurts. But, yeah, it's the level of competition is very different. The Eagles are one of the elite teams in the NFL. The Browns are, one of the worst teams in the NFL, record-wise. So, yeah, the Steelers need George Pickens, but it looks like they might not get him back for this game. So, if that happens, we could see a change there. And Steeler fans do not want to see this team settle for a wild card spot. They don't. Because if that's the case, if this team has to go on the road, it's going to be tough for them. It's going to be really tough for them. Now, if they... Sorry, again. Every single time, it's at least once that I have to hold back a sneeze. It's always at least once. But anyways, if they have to go on the road, the Steelers, in the playoffs, it's going to be tough. If they finish as the 5, they're going to play probably the Texans, which is a game they could win. Because the Texans haven't really been that impressive as of late. But Steeler fans don't want that. They want to win this division. They want to have a home playoff game for the first time since, for the first time since 2020. Yeah, when they lost to the Browns. That's their last, it was an empty stadium. And I can't say really last memory. Well, there were some fans in the stands, but it was very limited. But that was your last memory of a playoff game in Pittsburgh, was the Browns going up 28-0. Steeler fans want to forget about that and, be playing at home this season with the full crowd, and they'd be going up against the Broncos at this current moment. But, yeah, you look at some of the other teams that are on the outside looking in. I don't think the Chargers are going to collapse here. Their final 2 games are against the Patriots and the Raiders. They're on the road. I think they should win those games, but we'll have to see. The Colts, they're 6-8. Their final 3 games. I mean, they actually have the Titans, the Giants, and the Jaguars, so they could win their 3 games and finish 9-8. The Dolphins, they play the 49ers, the Browns, and the Jets, so maybe they could finish 9-8. The Bengals would have to win out to make the playoffs. They got the Browns at home, the Broncos, and the Steelers. Kind of those final 2 games are going to be tough for them, but yeah, I think the Chargers, they're going to make it. They're going to make it. I think they at least get the 10 wins, and that'll be good enough for them to make it. But I know there were some posts on the Bengals and how there's still kind of a pathway for them to make the playoffs, because there's been some posts. There's been now the Cowboys could still make the playoffs too. Let's see if I can find it. Because the Bengals, basically, they have to win out, and then one of the Chargers or the Broncos, they have to lose out. Now, it would probably make more sense for the Broncos to lose out for the Bengals, because the Bengals play them head-to-head. And the Broncos have the Chargers tonight, even though I have them winning, the Bengals, and then the Chiefs. So, I mean, those are 3 tough games. Depending on if the Chiefs still have something to play for, if they sit their guys. But, yeah, I mean, it's not going to happen. The Bengals are not making it. I mean, maybe they went out, but they're not going to make it. Same thing with the Dolphins. They're not going to make it. Colts are not going to make it. This is what we're going to get. I would be surprised if one of these 6-8 teams finds a way in. But it all has to depend on what, the Chargers do. Or the Broncos. Because everybody else, all the teams up top, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Steelers, and the Texans, they're all in. So it's really all about trying to make a wild card, and I just don't see it happening. But, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the playoff picture as it stands right now. I thought the AFC was going to be more competitive this year. That really didn't turn out to be the case, because I thought the Jaguars were going to be better, the Browns, the Jets. I thought the Raiders would have a better record than 2-12. At one point, the Raiders were 2-2. But then it's just, I don't know how I had them winning 8 games. I really don't. Well, I had them winning against the Panthers. And they lost that game. Yeah, I really don't know how I had them winning 8 games. I guess maybe I thought they were going to upset the Chiefs at one point. I'd have to go back and look. But yeah, I had the Raiders winning 8 games. They had a tough schedule this year. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping Antonio Pierce could still be the guy there. But yeah, right now it's not looking good. Not looking good. But they're going to draft a quarterback. So we'll see if that can help turn them around. And, they got a good tight end in Brock Bowers. That roster does need a lot of work. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think, though, about the playoff picture at the moment. Do you see any seismic changes? Do you see maybe some of these wildcard teams on the outside looking in? Do you think they somehow find a way in? Let me know in the comments. So before we go to break, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So when we come back from our next break, we will discuss more on the Kirk Cousins-Michael Penix situation. We'll talk about what Kirk Cousins had to say about being benched. We'll talk about Raheem Morris's comments as well, and what kind of the future holds for Kirk Cousins. What do you think is going to happen with him? What do I think is going to happen with him after this season? So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.